New Year's Day mother-in-law gives allowance only to sister-in-law's child. I don't give to others' kids. That's fine, I snapped. I stop her rent payments. Stop sending money to my mother-in-law. As John sharply swatted away the small hand his son extended, the sound echoed sharply through the quiet living room on New Year's Day. I don't see why I need to give New Year's money to someone else's child. With a scornful expression, Nancy looked down at us as if we were something dirty. Next to me, my son's small shoulders trembled. Instinctively, I reached out and gently rubbed his reddened hand. I never wanted him to experience this kind of pain. But in this moment, I lacked the power to protect him or to change our circumstances. Such a cute little grandchild. This year, I've put something extra special in your envelopes. Her sickly sweet words, directed at my sister-in-law's children, felt like shards of ice cutting through the air as my son and I sat unnoticed, as if we didn't exist. Every year on this day, I endure the same treatment. But this year, it hurt more than ever. Just yesterday, Mike, my son, had been excitedly talking about visiting Grandma's house, his eyes lighting up every time he mentioned it. He was looking forward to receiving his New Year's gift and creating a special memory to start the year. That pure and innocent expectation was now shattered before my eyes, crumbling like a fragile house of cards. Watching this unfold felt like my heart was being torn apart. I sat quietly, gripping the edge of the carpet so tightly that my nails dug into its surface. The physical pain was easier to bear than the emotional anguish. "Grandma? Why?" His small voice broke the silence, and his large tears began to fall. Seeing him like that, my heart felt like it was being ripped to pieces. The next moment, I felt him tightly clutching my sleeve, his small hand trembling. His trembling hand brought tears to my own eyes, but I fought to keep them from falling. I didn't want to cry here, not in front of my son. I wanted to be a strong mother for him. I couldn't take it anymore. Stroking my son's head gently, I stood up. "Let's go home." My voice sounded unnervingly calm even to myself. "Oh, leaving already? We were just about to start the family dinner." At that moment, my phone rang. Seeing the name on the screen, something shifted inside me. All the emotions I had been suppressing threatened to pour out at once. "My name is Jessica Hunter. I was originally from a small city, but moved to the city for work. At first, life in the big city felt overwhelming. But over time, I became accustomed to its conveniences. Now, when I return to my hometown, it feels like something is missing. These days, I'm a stay-at-home mom to my 6-year-old son, Mike. But I wasn't always a homemaker. I used to be a career woman, working for a major trading company. Back then, I earned a salary of about $90,000 a year, enough to buy anything I wanted and live comfortably. Sometimes, I think back to those carefree days and wonder if I made the right choice. But then I remind myself that if I had kept working, I might never have met my son. Now I can't imagine a life without him. My parents were both teachers and highly value education. They sent me to a private middle school, which eventually helped me get into a prestigious university and land a job at a top trading company. I'm deeply grateful to them for giving me such opportunities. That's why I felt so guilty when I decided to quit my job at the trading company. I questioned my decision over and over, wondering if I was making a mistake. I didn't even tell many people the real reason I was leaving, so my colleagues were shocked and tried to talk me out of it. Every time they did, it felt like a piece of my heart was being pulled back. It's been 6 years since I left that job. While I sometimes miss it, I'm grateful for the time I've been able to spend with Mike. Being able to be with him during these precious early years has been invaluable. I left my job because I got pregnant. At 31, I was thrilled to be expecting my first child. Things were going smoothly until one day, a doctor told me I was at risk for preterm labor. Continuing to work could have endangered both me and my baby, so I made the heartbreaking decision to resign. My husband, John, was very supportive and said, "I'll take care of you." His words gave me the courage to finally make the decision. Without his support, I might have kept working and put myself and my child at risk. Now, I work part-time at an office, 3 days a week. My monthly income is only $1,200, which feels like a drop in the bucket compared to my former salary. But it helps support our household, so I try to be content with it. My husband's salary isn't very high, so raising a child on his income alone can be a bit of a struggle. I don't want to hurt his pride by mentioning this, so I tell him I work part-time to stay connected to society. John and I have known each other since childhood. We went to the same elementary school, but lost touch when I started attending a private middle school. We reconnected at our class reunion. At first, I didn't recognize him because his appearance had changed so much, but his kind personality hadn't changed a bit, and it brought back memories of our childhood. To be honest, he wasn't my type physically, but his unwavering devotion eventually won me over, and we started dating. His kindness continued throughout our relationship, and even our friends were envious of how considerate he was. However, things changed after we got married. He became distant and uninvolved in raising Mike. When I told him I was pregnant, he cried tears of joy, but now he barely participates in childcare. People can change so much, it seems. To make matters worse, John's behavior has been strange lately. He used to barely touch his phone, but now he carries it everywhere, even to the bathroom. He claims he's been working overtime because of his busy schedule, but he's been coming home later than ever. A woman's intuition is rarely wrong, and I can't shake the feeling that he's having an affair. John isn't very good at keeping secrets, so if he's cheating, I'm sure evidence will surface soon. Until then, I've decided not to confront him or snoop around. If he realizes I'm suspicious, he might start hiding evidence, even if there is some. If John really is having an affair, I suspect it stems from the emotional scars of his upbringing. He grew up in a single-parent household and always felt the need to meet his mother's expectations. He once told me he worked hard to please her because he didn't want to cause her any trouble. He took numerous high-paying job interviews, hoping to provide financial support from her. Unfortunately, after many rejections, he settled for his current position. I remember how shocked he was when we discussed our salaries before marriage. My income was significantly higher, which must have been a blow to his bride. Since then, we've avoided discussing our salaries altogether. I've been covering the financial support he sends to his mother, which has probably eased some of his burden, but might also contribute to his stress. I've worried that this stress could manifest in unhealthy ways, and now, it seems like it has. One evening, I received an unexpected call from my sister-in-law, Rachel. I was in the middle of making dinner and couldn't answer right away, but the phone rang persistently. Assuming it was urgent, I eventually picked up. "Starting tomorrow, I'm going on a 3-day trip with Mom. Can you take care of my son?" She spoke as if I had no choice in the matter. "I'll drop him off at your place at 9 a.m. Thanks in advance." Rachel had been living with my mother-in-law since her divorce. The divorce was apparently her fault, caused by an affair on her part. I had always found her selfish, but I maintained a neutral relationship for Mike's sake. However, this request was too much. I had plans to meet friends for lunch the next day, and taking care of someone else's child for 3 days was unreasonable. Besides, why wasn't she taking her son on the trip? I decided to politely decline. After hanging up, I felt a pang of guilt, but I reminded myself it was the right thing to do. Not long after, my phone rang again. This time, it was my mother-in-law. "What's this I hear about you refusing to take care of Rachel's son? You know we're going on a trip, don't you? How could you possibly say no to taking care of a 6-year-old? I wanted to throw her words back at her, but held my tongue. My mother-in-law had been called to me from the start of my marriage. Any time I expressed disagreement, she would retaliate tenfold. I'm certain she sees me as the woman who stole her son. Regardless of how justified I might be, she always sides with John or Rachel. I decided there was no point in arguing. I told her I'd discuss it with John and ended the call. That night, John came home after midnight. I had waited up, even though I was exhausted. "Your mom and Rachel called today. They want me to take care of Rachel's son for 3 days, while they go on a trip. But I have plans tomorrow. Can I say no?" I expected John to agree with me. Even if he might be distant lately, he couldn't be so unreasonable. "Just take both kids with you. I'm sure your friends won't mind." I was stunned. "Are you serious? Taking one child is already enough to impose on them. 2 is completely unreasonable. It would be worse to refuse Mom and Rachel. You should respect their wishes." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Was John really this oblivious, or did he simply not care about me anymore? Reluctantly, I texted my friends explaining that I'd be bringing 2 kids to lunch. None of them responded, likely already asleep. It was past midnight after all. Then, with great reluctance, I messaged Rachel to tell her I would take her son after all. Her response was infuriating. "Oh, thanks so much. To be honest, I was planning to bring him over regardless of what you said." And the audacity was unbelievable. Just as I finished sending my messages, I noticed a notification on John's phone. He was in the shower, so I glanced at the screen. The sender's name was familiar, Rachel's ex-husband's younger sister. I remembered how friendly she and John had been at family gatherings, but I never imagined they were still in contact. Curious and suspicious, I opened the message. Its contents confirmed my worst fears. "Today was amazing. I want to see you again tomorrow. No. Every day." My heart sank. I had been right all along. John was having an affair. Still, his carelessness in leaving his phone unlocked was baffling. Part of me felt vindicated, but the pain of seeing the evidence was overwhelming. I decided to pretend I hadn't seen anything, for now. I would need more proof before confronting him. That night, I barely slept. Since discovering the affair, my nights have been restless, and my health was beginning to suffer. Despite everything, I had to keep going for Mike's sake. The next morning, Rachel arrived with her son as planned. She didn't even bother to apologize for the inconvenience. Later that day, While cleaning John's study, I stumbled upon some suspicious documents. Among them was an insurance policy for Mike, something I had signed up for myself. The papers suggested John was trying to cancel the policy without my knowledge. As I replaced the documents, a photo slipped out from between two books. It was of John and Rachel's ex-husband's sister, taken 6 months ago. They looked happy, like a couple on vacation. I couldn't remember the last time John had taken me on a trip. The discovery filled me with a mix of anger and sadness. I resolved to gather more evidence before taking any action. I wasn't the type of woman to suffer in silence. Over the next few weeks, I hired a private investigator to dig deeper into John's affair. What they uncovered was far worse than I had imagined. John had not only been unfaithful, but was already siphoning money from Mike's insurance to fund his mistress. The investigator also found evidence of fraud and embezzlement at his workplace. It was a tangled web of deceit, involving his mistress's father, who was a prominent businessman. The revelations were staggering, but they gave me the resolve I needed. I decided to take everything public. A month later, I found myself standing before a room full of reporters, ready to expose the truth. Would you like me to continue from here? The press conference was packed, the air heavy with anticipation. John, his mistress, her father, and my mother-in-law were all present, their faces tense and pale. Today, I was tasked with revealing everything. This was my moment to expose the years of pain and betrayal I had endured. Thank you all for coming today. My voice trembled slightly as I began, but I quickly composed myself. I recounted the timeline of events, presenting the evidence I had meticulously gathered. Photos, documents, and recordings were displayed for all to see, each piece of evidence more damning than the last. The audience of journalists was stunned, and there were pens flying across their notepads. Questions began pouring in from the press. Is it true that this company was involved in corporate tax evasion? Did the mistress's father knowingly enable these illicit activities? Were the other family members aware of John's affair and misconduct? John, his mistress, and her father struggled to answer, their attempts at denial crushed by the undeniable evidence. By the end of the conference, their reputations were in shreds. That evening, the story dominated the news. Friends and acquaintances reached out to me, offering their support and expressing their disbelief at the extent of the scandal. For the first time in years, I felt truly seen and supported. The fallout was swift and severe. The mistress's father's company faced investigations and a massive stock crash, eventually declaring bankruptcy. My mother-in-law became the subject of neighborhood gossip, her once sympathetic neighbors turning their backs on her. John was fired from his job without severance, his reputation irreparably damaged. The mistress severed ties with him, leaving him alone and in debt over $500,000 owed to creditors. I couldn't help but feel a sense of justice as I learned these updates. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding my life. With the help of my former boss, I secured a position in their consulting department. The work was challenging, but fulfilling, a stark contrast to the isolation I had felt as a housewife under constant scrutiny. Mike adapted beautifully to his new school, his cheerful demeanor a daily source of joy for me. On a sunny spring day, as I watched him walk to school with his new backpack, I felt an overwhelming sense of pride. Despite everything, we were moving forward. Months later, the divorce was finalized. Yang was prohibited from contacting me or Mike. The last image he had of his son was from the entrance ceremony, a bittersweet memory of him, no doubt. Nazy, once the matriarch of her neighborhood, was now a pariah. Rachel, stripped of custody of her son, was reportedly working in unsavory jobs to pay off her debts. As for John's mistress, she disappeared from the public eye, her whereabouts unknown. The father's company, once a symbol of wealth and power, became a cautionary tale of greed and corruption. Life for Mike and me had returned to a peaceful rhythm. Every day, I reminded myself of the strength it took to get here. As I walked to pick Mike up from school one day, his laughter echoed through the playground. He ran to me, his face lit with pure joy. "Mom, I had the best day ever." His happiness was my greatest reward.